You can transform your bedroom into a creative sanctuary and make the best music of your life in there. You can literally turn it into this magical, cozy, warm space that inspires the creative process so that you can just spend hours practicing your instrument, making music, making videos, and crafting your dream life as a musician. So I've just moved into this new space here, and so far I'm totally in love with it, honestly. And with every new space that I've moved into, I've kind of gotten better at this process of transforming it into this perfect kind of magical creative space, perfect for making videos and making music, right, and practicing my instrument. And so I've come up with 3 main ideas that I wanted to share with you as to how you can take just a regular bedroom and literally transform it into this creative sanctuary. And by the way, this room that I'm currently in has so far been the smallest room I've ever been in, okay? So it doesn't matter if you have literally the tiniest Harry Potter cupboard, you can turn it into this creative sanctuary, okay? And so hopefully these ideas we look at in this video are going to help you. Don't underestimate the power of the environment in which you create your music and you create your videos and your art. Honestly, it is so powerful. In my life and in my creative journey, I've found this kind of outward inward flow such that the space and the environment that I'm in directly inspires and motivates and encourages the creative process. When my spaces have been kind of conducive to the creative process and have been kind of magical and inspiring, the work that I create is of higher quality and I tend to be more productive. I tend to make more work. However, when I've been in spaces where it's just been really hard to engage in the creative process, to compose music, even just to practice my instrument, when it's hard to do these things, obviously you don't want to do them, right? There's more resistance to you and the process of actually practicing your instrument and composing and producing music and making videos, right? So the whole goal here is to be as close as you possibly can, right? So this is you, this is the creative process. You want to be as close as you can to the creative process. And also you want to make the space warm and comfortable and cozy, because the more comfortable and safe that you feel in a creative space, it's almost like you're able to express deeper emotions, deeper parts of yourself in your music, in your craft, and whatever you're creating in that space, right? You're able to just be yourself with that work. So I've come up with 3 scales for transforming just like a regular room into a creative sanctuary. The first scale is the mundane to magical scale, okay? So first we start with like mundane, just a blank slate, okay? That's kind of mundane. You don't want to be in a mundane space because that's not inspiring to be in. You want to bring mundane to magical, right? That's the other side of the scale. You want to make the space magical. You want to feel like a wizard in there, okay? Like literally, you're a wizard, Harry. You can be a wizard today, okay? You just make the space magical. It doesn't have to be mundane, right? So that's the first one, and we're going to talk about this later in the video. The second scale is the chaotic to harmonious scale, right? So you don't want a space that is chaotic. You don't want it to feel like chaos in there, unless you do, of course. We're talking about the arts here, so if you want to create chaotic art and work, then definitely make a chaotic space, right? But the whole idea here is that we're kind of creating this space with intention. So even then, you're thinking like, okay, I want to create chaotic music, so I'm going to make a chaotic space to inspire that, right? You're still being intentional with how you're designing the space, right? But anyway, chaotic is that side of the spectrum, the scale, and then the other side is harmonious. So you want to make this space harmonious. You want to have a sense of feng shui in there, right? It's got to feel like the creative energy is flowing and it's natural and there's nothing distracting your eyes and your senses, and you can just like focus in on the task at hand, on the music, on the practice, on the video, on whatever you're creating as a musician. And then lastly, we have the impractical to optimized scale, right? So impractical means that it's just impractical. You can't even use it to create work, right? You don't have a desk or you don't have things set up, right? You have to like set up your light or your computer or your instrument to start practicing. It just makes it way harder to start doing stuff, to start creating, to start practicing, right? You want to get to optimize. That means that like ideally everything is just set up and ready to go for you. You've got the optimized desk space. You've got things literally set up ready to go at the click of a button. Again, we're talking about music and the arts here, so these are scales and spectrums. Like, you don't have to be all of the way to magical and optimized and harmonious, right? That's how I like it personally, but it's up to you how you want to design your own creative sanctuary, and you can kind of place, you can place yourself anywhere on those scales, right? Okay, so now that you know the scales, the next thing that we need to do is to create a vision for the space, right? You need to form the space in your mind and your imagination first, so then you can actualize it into your physical reality, right? So you need to be in the space, and you need to look around your bedroom, and you need to think, okay, what kind of music do I want to create in here? What kind of videos do I want to create in here? And what do I want the vibes to be? How do I want my work to feel? And then you want to look around in your room, and you want to think what it's going to look like, what the space is going to be to kind of inspire that work, to inspire that music and those videos. That's the idea, right? But first you have to create that vision. You have to form it in your imagination. And the beautiful part about this is that the imagination and creativity, they are limitless. So you could literally create the dream space with what you're working with. It's all up to you and your imagination and how far you're willing to take this idea of designing your own creative sanctuary, right? And then of course the next phase is actually getting to work and designing it, okay? So let's talk about that. Let's start with the impractical to optimized scale, because this is kind of where you start. You want to have the layout of things set up first, so then you can kind of decorate it, right? We sometimes don't get a choice in the kind of room that we find ourselves in, but understand that there definitely is a kind of layout to that room that is optimized, and it is perfect for what you want to do as a creative and as a musician. You know those puzzle games where you like have to move the tiles? Yeah, do one of those. Play a game like that with your room and just like try different configurations, and there will be a configuration that is literally perfect and optimized, right? If you set up things like tripods and cameras, and you have to consider the angle of things, because for example, my bed is right here and I can't have a camera here. Like, I can only have the camera here because I literally can't put a tripod on my bed. That's just unstable, right? And it's impractical, okay? But I've found the optimized layout for this room such that I can have this very frame right here for making videos. Also, I've found this perfect little pocket for my studio light that can just stay there set up. It's already ready to go. I only need to turn it on, which is fantastic, because in my previous space, I had to literally set up my studio light every time I wanted to make YouTube videos. And so that was an extra 5 minutes that I had to spend setting up the studio light. And that might sound like ridiculous. It's only 5 minutes. But honestly, when an idea strikes, you want to be able to just like snap your finger and just start recording, right? So you want to be as close as you can to that process of actually creating things. Also, you want to make sure that you've got a really solid desk that suits your space. I'm a massive fan of the corner desk, because the corner desk actually optimizes the corner space and there's no dead space, right? I've got quite a small room, right? So this corner desk actually gives me more helpful and conducive space. It's also very sturdy and solid. You know, you don't want one of those desks that's gonna like topple when you like move it to the side. You know those desks I'm talking about, okay? Some desks absolutely suck. Get yourself a good desk at least. Honestly, a desk is literally the best piece of furniture I've ever known in my life. No joke. If I had one piece of furniture to live with, it would actually be a desk over my bed. Honest to God. Also, consider the quality of your gear as well. I think this is quite important when it comes to impractical to optimize. For example, if you want to make videos and if you produce music but your computer is really slow and like lagging, then obviously that's a problem, right? That's impractical. That's just another obstacle between you and the creative process. And so yeah, you might need to like invest money in this optimization of your creative space, but if you take your creative work seriously like I do, then 100% invest that money, make the space as optimized as you can possibly make it. Okay, let's talk about the mundane to magical scale. This is my favorite scale to talk about because I just love making spaces feel magical and feel just super fantastical, right? Because I have this big imagination and I want to inspire it. I want to inspire my creativity, and this scale is how you honestly inspire the creative process and feel like a wizard. Okay, I'm not just saying that because people tell me I look like Daniel Radcliffe, okay? Art is actual wizardry, okay? Don't let anyone tell you it's not. Music is wizardry. Let's just make that a thing. So the easiest possible way to do this is with lights, okay? Lighting is so overpowered. It's so powerful. I only just started using the power of lighting in my previous space when my friend Eric told me that you could get these colorful lights that you can change the color of. And that might sound so obvious, but for me that was mind-blowing. I didn't discover this until I was 26. You can literally get a light bulb that changes color. And you can get these LED strip lights, okay? So maybe you can see here that my keyboard is like glowing. I've got this LED strip light around it, and I can adjust the color of that and this light up here. And that's so good that you can adjust the color of it because it means you can change the atmosphere on the fly. For example, just last night I was composing a piece of music to some footage that I filmed outside the aeroplane window, and it's like this beautiful blue sky and like clouds and things, and I just set these lights to blue to make it feel like the sky. And so hopefully you can see that that just kind of aligns with the atmosphere and the vibe of what I was creating, and it just inspired the creative process. It just, I don't know, it just added an extra element of magic to the process. Also, you can look at getting these kind of decorative and fairy lights. I've got these really cool like fairy string lights, and I've set it up so that it looks like my old family dog Nessie up here is like feeding the space with this kind of magical energy. And that sounds like ridiculous, right? But this is just like my own creative touch, right? I'm using my imagination to come up with these interesting ways of like making the space original and unique to me. And that's the whole goal with this scale. This is where you make your space original and authentic to who you are as a person, right? And you want to really bring out the qualities of your own character and your own life story. The next thing is art. You can find the perfect pieces of art just for your space. I've got some art here behind me. So these ones here, I found these last year for my previous space, and you can kind of see these on my previous YouTube videos. I love these pieces, right? They're just kind of simple, but they inspire a sense of creative enthusiasm in me, so I really love them. I also have some pieces of art from my late Auntie Jean, who passed away about 8 years ago, but her art is with me. She's with me. She was an artist, right? Obviously, because that's her artwork, but she was an artist, and she was a really encouraging and inspiring person, and so she's still with me here in these shots, and she's gonna be with me here in these videos going forward, right? And so it just gives the space a sense of my own life story and my own character, and it adds a sense of magic to the space, because we're artists, right? We're creative people. We know that when we create work, we put ourselves into that work. When you make music, you put a piece of yourself in that music, a piece of your own magic and your own emotions and your own life experiences into that music. And so artists do the same. When artists create a piece of like art, a painting, they put themselves into that painting. They put a piece of their magic and inspiration into that painting. And so when we bring that painting into our space, we get that magic, we get that inspiration from that art. Using that inspiration, we're gonna create art in our space that's gonna help other people. And it's like this positive feedback loop that just makes the world a super inspiring, magical place, right? So bring art into your space. It's like plus 10 magic, plus 10 inspiration, okay? And then the next thing I wanted to talk about on the topic of my auntie is items of sentimental value. This mug is my all-time favorite mug. It's broken, I can't use it for tea, but I can still have it in my space. This takes me all the way back to my childhood growing up in this place called Omaha at this batch we used to live in, and that's where I started creating art. That's where I started like writing books and just engaging in my imagination. And so just having this teacup here adds that like memory, that whole memory lane to my space here, and it creates a sense of nostalgia, right? Take a look at this treasure chest, right? So I used this treasure chest the first time I went busking out on the Queenstown waterfront as a pianist, right? So that was like a massive moment in my music journey, right? And so this just connects me to my wider journey as a musician and as a creative. It's much better having this than just some random container or box that I could buy from like the warehouse, right? So you want to have these items of sentimental value because it's just going to add a sense of nostalgia and character and personality to your space. And what that's going to do is it's going to add those elements, it's going to imbue those elements into the work that you're creating in that space. You don't want a copy and paste space. You want a space that is extremely original and unique to you. Okay, so the last scale is the chaotic to harmonious scale. You want your space to be harmonious. You want it to be peaceful and tranquil, right? We're talking about creating a creative sanctuary. If you think about that word sanctuary, what comes to mind? This kind of paradise, right? A temple. Imagine a temple with Buddhist monks like meditating. There would be no rubbish there. There would be no dishes lying around, right? It would be clutter-free, right? It would just be this very peaceful space where everything has been placed intentionally and there's nothing that's out of place, right? Everything is in order, okay? So with this scale, you just want to keep things tidy and organized. Unless, of course, you want it to be chaotic for the sake of the work that you're creating, which is totally valid. But, you know, I think it's good to take rubbish out of the space, to take your dishes out of the space, right? Because you want to treat your creative process as sacred. We're creating art, we're creating music and videos that can literally inspire and change people's lives. That's a sacred thing in my mind, right? That's super sacred. And so let's treat our spaces with a sense of sacredness. That's certainly what I'm doing in this space. I'm really keeping it very clean and tidy and organized and just, yeah, harmonious. Another big part of this is cable management, right? There are cables everywhere, right? You've got cables for this, that, and the other. And so cable management is honestly quite important, I'd say. It's something I didn't know about a couple of years ago. And I just had this big mess of cables that looked like a pit of snakes. And it was just visually distracting. And this might sound really pedantic, but honestly, when I started like kind of organizing my cables and just keeping them tidy, I felt better in the space. I didn't feel anxious. Cable management is definitely a thing, okay? So find a way to manage your cables and keep them tidy. And this is going to take your space from chaotic to harmonious, that's for sure. Okay, so that's about everything. I really hope that you got some value from this video and that you can start transforming your bedroom into the most magical creative studio of your life and literally create the best work in there. I'm really excited for you. So yeah, I'm gonna be in this space for maybe the next 6 months or so, just making videos. And if you like this kind of content, definitely subscribe. I've got a lot more on the cards, and as I already explained, you know, having the perfect space just makes it easier to create stuff. And so I'm gonna be creating a lot of videos this year in this space. And so if you want to tag along for that journey, definitely vibe and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.